Klaus Schwab is the head of the World Economic Forum, is the executive director, and there was a tweet that came out. I'm just going to play. Do you see that tweet that I have from Jason? Okay, so we're going to play from 20 seconds on. If you can't understand him well, don't worry. Just sit tight for a second, and I'll stop. I'm going to stop and go. Just go. Let's just start at 20 and let's go.
It's a deep, systemic, and structural restructuring of our world. And this will take some time. And the world will look differently after we have gone through this transition process.
Okay, so that's actually all I need from him, because I know he's insufferable on many levels and quite evil, in my opinion, to be quite frank. So what did he just say there? When he talks about, this is the Matrix, by the way. This guy is one of the heads of the Matrix. He's at the top of the chain. What did he just say there? A deep systemic and structural restructuring of our world. This will take some time. The world will look differently after we have gone through this transition process. What you need to realize is that these globalists, they're coming for you. They're coming for your individual freedom. They're coming for your individual sovereignty. They're coming for national sovereignty in many respects, because the fact that the United States of America still stands for, in some part, what it stands for, and I say that with an eye roll because we all know that the land of the free isn't so free after COVID. A lot of people's individual freedoms were trampled on. But what they really want is they want to take from you your financial independence. They want to take from you your ability to get from point A to point B without them above you supervising that process and giving you the okay. That's what we're talking about when we talk about the central bank digital currency. That's what we're talking about when we talk about a digital ID. The reason people get so crazy with a digital ID is because, think about it. If everything is digitized and everything is centralized and everything is operated from atop, meaning you got a whole bunch of globalists that want to be able to decide if your behavior is good or bad, then what can be used against you? Well, all of it. They can rob you of your financial independence because they can then decide if you need to show a digital ID to get in somewhere, then they can say, well, this person has lived their life in X, Y, and Z way, so they're not going to gain access to this. And we saw that with the vaccine mandates and the vaccine passports. You saw, for the first time that I had ever witnessed in society in my lifetime, you saw massive discrimination happen in society where people who had made a different medical decision, some of which, by the way, made that medical decision in consult with their own physicians, didn't have access to gyms, didn't have access to restaurants, didn't have access to certain jobs, lost their jobs, despite having those letters and all of that stuff exempting them. So that was the groundwork. What's going to be the next step? Well, let's take a look at the World Economic Forum for a second. I want to show you a couple of tweets that are coming out because people say, oh, the World Economic Forum, that sounds great. It sounds like a utopia. Pay attention to what these people are trying. Look at this. Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better. Okay. This is a tweet from the World Economic Forum. I own nothing. That's coming after your private property. You have no privacy. Meaning every single thing you do isn't private anymore because guess what? You're checking in everywhere with your digital ID. So they know exactly where you are all the time. They know where you went on Saturday morning and after that. And they've authorized oh yeah, she behaved well. She did everything we told her to do so she can gain access. Oh, he didn't? He's got to get out. And on top of that, imagine a central bank digital currency where you are told that you can buy your ticket to freedom if you behave. And if you don't, oh, well, I guess you can't travel that day and somebody else can. Let's look at that second tweet. This was a tweet that came in. This is a video. I wasn't going to play the video. I think we should. I really think we should. It's from the World Economic Forum. It was since deleted in many locations. And it's been found and people have played it. It's a video. Can we play that video, Tyler? Do we have it? Okay, I want to show you this. This was 8 predictions for the world in 2030. Take a listen, please. Okay. So if I could shake you at home, this is the matrix that Andrew Tate is talking about. When you hear him talk about the matrix, the system, I know it's very hard to pinpoint who that is. Like people always say, well, who specifically? This organization, this is what we're talking about. Let's look at some of the language in here. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. No private property? Oh, that's interesting. If you don't have private property, you don't have a home. You don't have your own independence without private property. They know that. You're going to rent everything. Who are you going to rent it from? You know, when you rent, you have to listen to the person you rent from. You can't just do whatever you want. That's why people want to own a home, right? You can't even put up the blinds you want. You can't do this. You can't renovate. Oh, isn't that interesting? So they like that. Why? Because you're always answering to someone else. Drones? No thanks. You know what drones do? They spy on you. We know that. The U.S. won't be the world's leading superpower. So that's a goal. Very upfront. U.S. has too much power. You know why? Because the values that built this country, like freedom and opportunity, and all of those values that they say, by the way, Western values will be a thing of the past, to summarize, they're talking about that stuff. They're talking about your freedom. They're talking about personal responsibility. They're talking about all these things that you hear the guys like Tate talk about all the time. Own your own life. Own your own choices. Meat. Meat is under attack. You all like meat? Well, they would like you to eat less meat. They want it to be an occasional treat, not a staple. And they want to decide what's on your dinner table. They want to decide that you've had too much meat. And why the attack on meat, by the way? Because meat is being utilized as a reason to go after the carbon footprint. Climate change is going to be the next fear porn that comes down the pike here. We saw it with COVID. They scared the heck out of so many people. And what happened? The fear took over and people like all of a sudden found themselves cooperating with lockdowns, cooperating with mandates. All of a sudden, all of your freedom had been taken away from you. Why? Because you allowed it. You allowed the fear to take over. Well, guess what? Climate change is part 2. Climate change is part 2. They're going to scare everybody into thinking the world's going to end. And what do they want to do? They want to, and they say it here, less carbon footprint. What does that mean? That means they want to cut energy independence for this country. That means that they want to tax and regulate the heck out of the energy industry. What's that going to do to energy prices and energy costs? And what happens then? You have less money. You have less stability. You have less freedom. You're more likely to lean on big daddy and mommy government, which, by the way, to these people means globalist government. It doesn't even mean big daddy and mommy American federal government. They're talking way bigger than that because they need the United States to be a little bit deprioritized, to sit back a little bit and share the stage. So you need to know what's going on here. These people want to tell you how to live. They want to tell you what to eat. They want to tell you not to own property. They want to tell you not to be free. And maybe the next time a pandemic rolls around, they want to be able to force you to get whatever, big pharma drug comes down the pike, or else you won't maybe be able to buy a plane ticket, or maybe you won't be able to do whatever they decide in that moment you shouldn't be allowed to do. So I need your eyes open because we can talk about all the dating and relationship stuff in the world, but you have to understand that part of that, and I always talk about, is pulling men and women apart and decreasing the stability of that nuclear family. These individuals who want that are sitting right here atop the World Economic Forum. They need you weak. I always say they need you unhealthy, and they need you afraid, because if you're afraid, you're more likely to allow yourself to become a dependent. And I found a few videos, actually, I didn't show them today, of Andrew Tate actually talking about some of this stuff directly. And you see it, the campaign to eat bugs. Why would somebody want to take a beautiful grass-fed, grass-finished steak off your plate? Beautiful, delicious, makes you feel good when you eat it, energized, builds up that muscle, and put a bunch of crickets on there. You think that person's looking out for you? I don't think so. I'm going to skip the message from Jordan, by the way, Shatchel. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. He has a dossier. He's fantastic, and he's got no fear of the Matrix. He writes a lot about these guys, and he has a couple of things in his article here. I don't want to read it because it's pretty long, but he talks about, this is actually interesting. I'll read this one part to you. We're talking about Klaus Schwab. Schwab describes this cohort of supposed evildoers, people he doesn't like, as conspiracy theorists who are responsible for all the world's ills. These individuals prop up anti-science movements. In other words, by the way, people who oppose vaccine mandates that prolong the waning of the COVID-19 pandemic, adding that this group is hindering both public health and, more fundamentally, our ability to move forward in unison. So if you feel differently, you're a problem. I'm just trying to let you know that what we talk about when it comes to dating, when we talk about these things in the dating world about masculinity, and we talk about these women that have been totally brainwashed, right? They're just puppets of the feminist movement. They don't even know what they're doing anymore. They're miserable and they're just keep doing the same thing. This is all by design. And these people who sit atop this globalist nonsense, they're coming for you. You sitting at home who wants to have autonomy, who wants to have personal responsibility, who wants to have your own property and your own land, who wants to take care of yourself and your family, you're a problem. So you need to have your eyes wide open and be aware. And it would be really easy for me to sit here and just talk about the effects, which is that, male testosterone levels are shrinking and we have a massive fertility crisis in this country because women are waiting longer and longer to have families, and people are getting increasingly unhealthy and chemical exposures. We could talk about that. Great. But we also need to pay attention to the who benefits from all this societal decay that's going on. So we can laugh at some of what's going on and we can talk about it, but you need to stay alert because it's going to be much bigger than this. And I promise you, the fear porn that's going to come out of the climate movement in the next year is going to make the fear porn that came from them when it came to COVID look like nothing. So y'all better be ready. If you like the short clip and want to watch another short clip, click here. Or if you want to watch the full episode, click right here.